Please rise. Court is now in session.
Love, strength, Fighting for Justice is the podcast. Fighting spelled with a P-A. Serving Philly in the counties and the tri-states. Speak to change people's minds, yeah, we don't see hate. If you ever want to question law, yeah, let's debate.
All right, guys, welcome back. I'm gonna make fun of you. Fighting for Justice.
What up, everybody? Y'all know who it is. JJ, Dave,
Josh,
and the old man over here.
Old man 45. That's right.
Yeah, we had
Billy
him
D
on Instagram.
Yeah, you can find him on Instagram. He doesn't have a picture yet.
Yeah, that's the old
yeah,
man.
and it's not gonna be old man 45 forever.
He's gonna have one of those old man zoomed in photos. It'll be just like this part of his face. It'll be like this camera doesn't work.
Whenever he figures out how to hit, change icon, he's gonna hit us both up. How do I change the picture, guys?
Yup. How do I do this?
He'll have it on the wrong camera. It'll just be a picture of the wall.
A picture of his thumb.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on.
No, or it'll be my kid like fucking screaming or something. Yeah.
That's how you need to do it. Just
right.
I guarantee you, hand your phone to your kid.
That's what I might
take
do.
a picture of me and put it on Instagram. I guarantee you they'll get up faster than you ever could.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So,
no doubt.
what are we talking about today? The
It's
Breonna
on you.
Taylor?
We only talk about one thing today. We talk about dirty cops.
Yeah, that can be. That's the name of this episode, Dirty Cops. So
And Dave is still not watched. We own the city, by the way. Although JJ has.
I have. It was really good.
Yeah, so we need one more person to complete the Triforce here.
It'll be
yeah.
it'll be one of the things we talk about on
6 episodes, bro.
episode.
I mean, come on.
You know?
I'm gonna call BS.
Yeah, he's not gonna.
He's not gonna watch it. Which I say we just talk about.
No, he's gonna watch like Dr. Frankenstein's horror movie or whatever.
That's not his thing.
No, I watched
Frankenhorror. That's what it was. Dude would rather watch Frankenhorror than We Own This City.
Correct.
Like, I mean, that's
But
okay.
To everybody
But
listening,
to be fair,
Frankenhooker was
amazing.
amazing.
yeah, everybody does.
Frankenhooker
But
was
But
absolutely
like some people
amazing.
have like different like genres that they can watch, right? Like when
We're
it
not
comes
even
to
talking about
movies,
genres,
this
dude.
fool only
Yeah.
watches like scary. It's either scary or funny. He don't really watch anything else.
or Mob.
Or
Mob.
mob, right?
Yeah.
Mob shit, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I'll watch it.
No, you won't.
No, you
but
won't.
anyway. But anyway.
So yesterday, 4 cops were indicted federally in the case of Breonna Taylor. 3 of them. So I want to break it down because then we can discuss because I have an opinion on 2 different types of officers here.
Good.
So 3 of
Dave,
them.
lots of Dave opinions.
Yeah. This episode will be filled with lots of Dave opinions. 3 of the officers were indicted for lying on the search warrant application that actually got the police officers there. And if anybody's not familiar, the cop showed up, did a no-knock warrant. Breonna's boyfriend, correct? It's her boyfriend, I believe. Well, fiance, husband. I don't want to misquote.
I mean, it was somebody who was there.
Someone who was someone in the house.
Somebody was there. The cops show up. They no-knock. He starts shooting because he thinks somebody's coming in. The cops return an unlimited amount of shots at them and kill Breonna Taylor. One cop was charged at the state level, who's actually involved here, found acquitted of charges.
They only charged one guy at the state level?
And it was kind of, I don't know the exact term there, but it was like, for us, it would be like recklessly endangered. You know what I mean? It was because he shot so many shots from outside the house through the window.
Okay.
Found acquitted. Right. Found not guilty at state level. Now 4 are charged. 3 of them lied on the search warrant application. And the same cop who shot too many shots into the house was charged with federal, excessive force, right? Unconstitutional level force, something like that. Okay. The other 3 cops are charged with like conspiracy, lying on the search warrant application. I don't know what the specific charges are, but that's the nature of the facts, right? That they lied. They knew facts that they put in the search warrant application were materially false. Okay. Apparently the feds also have information, I'm sure it's through cell phone, text, all that kind of fun stuff, that after after she was shot and killed, they then did everything they could to cover up the fact that they lied. Right, so they knew they lied.
Wow, they're royally fucked.
Yeah. So that's where we're going too, right? But you've dealt with we've all dealt with the feds, right? They took a while, but usually when they do, it's because their shit is sealed nice and tight.
There's
a fucking bow on it.
It's a plea, bro. Every time
you don't tend to beat the feds.
So
if you get the FBI on your ass, man, it's game over.
And they know that they met outside of like an abandoned building to discuss all of them keeping the fact that they lied, keep it under wraps, right? So I don't know however the feds know this shit, they know this stuff, right? So that's what we have, right? They charge 3 cops for lying. And I mean, ultimately, if they don't lie in that search warrant application, nobody ever ends up at the house, right? Because they don't get the search warrant, most likely. And then the other guy, like I said, is charged because he shot, too many times through the window federally.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but he's not part of the search warrant. He's just out.
not.
He's just being an asshole.
but that's why I wanted to break it out,
okay.
right? So he was charged.
So
with this
he's
indictment.
different than the other guys.
Yeah.
I mean, still horrible what he did, but yeah.
So
Yeah,
exactly. So that's where we are. So I guess first I'll just give the three police officers. I mean, you've already given my opinion, right? The 3 officers that lied in that search warrant application. Hopefully there is a penalty that results in life sentence, right? Because the way I view it, if it wasn't for your lies, these cops don't end up there, and then there isn't, Breonna Taylor isn't dead. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if that's how easily they're going to be able to tie it. Maybe they could have gone the warrant anyway if they didn't. But here's the deal. I don't actually give a shit, right? They need to be put in jail. Like, we can't have this kind of shit. It's you're a police officer who's swearing under oath that the facts you're putting in there, and you knew you lied to the point where they knew you covered it up, right? At least that's what they're alleging. That they have information that they can prove that you worked together to cover this shit up.
Right.
If they can prove that in court, whatever the max is, please give them the max. Now, the other guy, right, and this is where I'm sure there'll be a little more debate. I'm not saying he shouldn't be charged, right? I'm saying I don't know what the point is. Like, we talked about this before the show. He brought up a great question, right? Is this not double jeopardy? If he's charged with the same set of facts where he was already found not guilty of a crime.
If the federal statute has different elements than the state statute,
it's not double jeopardy, right? Okay. So that one, I mean, it's still a good point because he's literally being charged with the same thing, essentially, right? And he was already found not guilty once. I think there's some room for at least discussion on that because I don't know what he's supposed to do, right? It's not his fault that he's there, right? We know that. It's the people that actually lied on the search warrant application potentially, right? He was just one of the responding officers. Now, should he have shot? Should he?
All right.
His actions there, should he have done those things? That's really
right. So you gave the 3 life. What do you give him?
I don't know. I don't know.
Is he the one that actually shot her? Like, is he the one that actually killed her? Was it his shot that?
I wish I would have known.
I'm not sure how they would have. I guess they'd have had to.
Well, they can tie the bullet back to the gun. I mean, they'd be able to tell if it was his shot.
And that, but I don't. Here's the weird thing: is that
it doesn't really matter. I mean,
the reason it doesn't matter is because they're not.
Anyway.
Yeah, I don't believe they're charging him because he killed her.
Right.
Right. They're actually
what he did was reckless.
Yes.
And
right.
in total disregard of human life.
Correct.
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
Correct. Right.
You're shooting as you don't know what you're even shooting at.
Which is against all their all the training that dude's had his entire career.
Let me ask you, and this is not me taking a side, right? Because I felt in the beginning when this happened, I was like, this is just a really sad case, right? Because they have a shitty no-knock rule there.
I think they already took it off the books.
Of course, right?
I'm just saying.
But you know what I mean? Like that
this is usually how the law changes.
And from the beginning, right? I was like, this
is
really just a sad case of having shitty laws where they can no-knock. You have a guy in there who's allowed to have a gun, who's trying to protect himself, so he shoots at what he thinks is an intruder, and then the cops are returning fire because they think they're getting shot at, right? So in my head, I was like, this is just a really shitty, sad case of bad laws. Like, cops should not just be able to kick your fucking door in.
Yeah, I mean, I already disagree, but only to a little extent.
I understand.
Because
I mean,
here's, and then this can kind of get it. I don't want to sidetrack because I want to talk about your thing, but I have a problem with allowing the police to be on the same level as civilians with guns who think that they're protecting themselves. Like, the cops are trained, right? I send you to these situations because I expect you to act better than the people, right? So if you go in and you do the no-knock warrant, you're already starting at an upper hand. You know you're there, what you're there for, what you're looking for. You know you're looking for someone with a gun. You know you're looking for, someone who you think is armed and dangerous. That's the whole point of the no-knock warrant, to get the upper hand. So you go in there and now somebody's shooting at you. Potentially, are all the officers outside of the house? Are any of you, are you guys behind, your cars, things that hey, we're pretty much safe. What the hell are you shooting back at? You don't know who's in the house. You're just shooting. That is unreasonable for a police officer in my mind. So what, you're being shot or you hear gunshots? What even makes you I guess, yes, some things will come by so you can hear if it's being aimed at you. how many guns is this how many people are shooting at you? Like, are you going to blow up the house? How many people are in the house? Like, there's so many unknowns that I feel like I hate guns, but a reasonable gun owner would kind of be like, hey, what the hell am I? What are they shooting at? Where are the people? How many people? Are there kids in the house? Are there other people in the house? These are things that I would hope that the police would think about before they just start opening fire.
At least the ones that are outside the house.
Right. The ones who are inside
if the one
different.
If they're getting shot at, little different story.
No,
but yeah.
Correct.
But that's my question, right? Where, police have the same right to self-defense as any normal citizen.
There's video of this, right? Isn't there body cam of this?
I don't remember seeing body cam of this.
I'm thinking of one specific where I've seen on the news where they bust in and a dude's on a couch sleeping and jumps up. And but it's a small space. It's like the size of this room, probably. It's a white couch, white wall. You guys don't remember this one?
From the Brianna?
Maybe I'm thinking of a different one where they bust it.
I was going to say that's a shitty problem. There's been so many.
There's been so many.
I know. I'm just saying. I'm trying to make sure I have the right imaging in my head.
I was going to say I don't personally remember seeing body cam footage from this. I don't. I just remember the whole story, right? And I tend to agree with JJ, right? That's why I'm not taking sides. Like I agree. Like if they were all outside and you're not defending yourself at that point.
No,
you are just shooting.
Right, you're just blindly shooting.
Right, just because somebody's shooting, like it doesn't. Like you are blindly firing into a house, and you're not protecting yourself, right?
No, and again, which goes against everything he's been trained to do.
Exactly, right. And if that's the case, right, then yes, he should be charged. But my thing is, if that was the facts, then was he not charged right at the state level? Do you know what I mean? Like, did they mess it up? Because that's the problem. Of course, they don't release all the facts. You know what I mean? Like, they never release all this shit to the public.
But I mean, I think in the general kind of grand scheme of things, like, to your point, like the other parts of it, I could kind of agree with. I can see why he would be different, except for number one, where he was when he took those shots in the first place.
Exactly.
And number two, if the whole reason we're charging him is because you shot too many times and you couldn't see what you were shooting. Like, how did you, if there were cops, let's play it out with you guys. If there were cops in the fucking house, how safe do you feel as a cop?
But that's
Maybe
also
it's
what
just cops firing at each other.
But so this is also what I'm wondering, right? I want to get, and I'm sure we'll learn some more if we don't already know this, right? Like I said, I know the general basics of it. But you're right on that. I mean, it seems to me that he probably wasn't the officer who shot and killed her, right?
Probably not,
because it sounds.
Actually, she probably got hit by a couple different.
Right.
Unfortunately, I don't. Right, and he's right though. What if there's police officers in the house, right, and they can see who's shooting at them, and they're returning fire, and then she gets hit, right? They're different than somebody outside who is ripping off, 16 shots from his gun through a window.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and
100%.
If that's the facts, he should have been found guilty at the state level.
Depends on but you don't know what they you don't know what they charged him with.
No, you're absolutely right. So
you don't know what that jury looked like.
I agree. Exactly. No, all these things, and that's why I'm interested. That's why I say I don't know enough. Right? What I give him, here's what I'll tell you: he deserves jail time. Okay. Right? I don't know how much. Right? I want to know more facts. Right? But listen, discharging a gun into a house if you're a normal person, what? If let's say you had no prior record, what, 5 years? Yeah, I was gonna say 5 years, fine. I'm fine with 5 years. Right? Put him in jail for 5 years, and then make sure he never gets hired. And
oh, dude, I don't think anyone has to make sure of that. I don't.
But here's the deal. This dude, I was gonna say of the 4 officers, real quick. I think, don't quote me on this, at least one is still employed by them.
That makes sense.
At desk duty.
No. He or she will no longer. They're in the process of firing them.
Yeah,
but it took this long. They've been cops for this long. Right. All I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah, but do you know how hard it is to fire?
I know. This is part of the.
But okay.
Yeah. These are part of the problem. So you know what I mean. Like they've had their job.
But as I see you, like the closest one. To like leaning more cop, not to the cop, but like we are very, very biased cop, and you are less biased cop, right? Out of the 3 of us,
without a doubt,
right? So I want to know what are you giving? The 3 who lied on the warrant, and the guy. In our scenario, we'll say for our set of facts, the guy who fired in, couldn't see what he was firing at, and he fired too many times. We don't know if he fired the killing shot, but that's in our hypothetical. What happened? What does Judge Tabay give
The guys that to me the more offensive act is the warrant is getting the warrant, lying about what's on the warrant. To me, I mean that's the thing that I can't stand is you fabricating your testimony and fabricating evidence to further your investigation.
Right.
You know, like and especially in a situation like this where you knew that it was going to potentially be a dangerous situation where it was going to have to be if you're applying for a no-knock, like you know there's a chance like some shit's going to go down like when you kick the door in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Like you know the guys that you're rushing in there with
But to be fair, isn't every time a police officer gets a warrant to like go kick in a door, isn't that what they say when they get on the stand every single time that their life could be in danger? Mm-hmm. So all of them already know, right? So like the no knock doesn't make it like
I think it does.
It doesn't make it to me more dangerous because all of them say the same thing, whether it's a no knock or it's a knock warrant. They're all because they don't know what's on the other side of the door, right?
Well, I'm talking about the application for the no knock obviously has to include information that they're going to be. The reason for the no knock is to try to de-escalate the situation as quick as possible, so no one gets shot.
Right.
I mean, what he says on the stand later.
I mean, I know what JJ's saying.
I know what he's saying
there's
too.
some intent
But
behind when you're actually applying for that warrant, right? Like you're going in there and you're saying, "I believe this situation's even more
dangerous than a normal
just a regular warrant." Even though we're just as scared.
But I think there has to be.
I know what you're saying.
That's kind of my thing. Like,
But I think
I know what you're saying.
To get a no knock, I think it has to be you have to be investigating a specific crime involving a firearm, right? At least in Pennsylvania, I thought you did.
This supposedly was all
like
around
you can't
drugs.
get a no knock just because you're going in to try to get a stolen bike back.
This was
like
do you have no knocks?
They definitely did when I was. I mean, that was a long time ago, but they definitely did when I was.
I gotta pull it up. I feel
I don't know.
They
I know
did at one point.
I know a lot of states are getting rid of them.
I know they are too,
because of things like this. Right?
The reason I think I remember is because like to get a no knock, you had to be chasing drugs or guns and drugs.
Yeah.
And you had to be able to say there's a high probability that the people inside are armed or have easy access to a firearm right away.
Yeah.
And that's why I need the no knock. Like you couldn't get a no knock to go in and try to seize a stolen bicycle, right?
Yeah.
Like you could never get it.
Yeah, sure.
Like it would have to be a situation or
or you just have to lie in the application.
or you lie, of
Or
course.
you lie, yeah.
I mean, like that's my thing though. Here's my thing. How often do you think the cops lie on like search warrant applications? How often do you think that happens?
Probably more than we'd like to admit.
But are they? You'd like to admit?
Yeah.
I think it happens all the goddamn
But are
time.
these? But yeah. But are we talking about lies that don't really like?
Yeah. Who gets to decide what lie matters? That's the problem.
Well, if you say this guy has guns in the house and you know he doesn't,
That's a lie.
It's
also
big.
a lie if I say I can see you and you're 200 yards away. That's a lie.
Sure.
Right. But they put that every time. Narcotics officers see people with Superman vision.
They do.
Okay. You're talking about. I mean, we're talking
I'm
about
talking lies, blatant lies, put on paper
and
from cops.
Yeah, but
Then get on the stand and back up the lies and say I was able to look through binoculars, through the rearview mirror, 200 yards that way, and positively identify somebody. Which lie is worse?
the lie that gets you to the front door of a no-knock warrant that leads to a situation where people get shot and killed. That lie to me is worse.
Right.
I started this discussion by saying the people that I would punish harsher are the people that lied on the search warrant application to get them there.
I mean,
as much as I hate the guy that was firing into the house,
I think here's the gist of what we're all saying. Right, I know what you're saying, and I know what Josh.
I'm gonna rip them all.
Josh agrees. I mean, at the end of the day,
he does.
No, and it's because I know what you're saying. They also, judges take a look at a search warrant and they look at the whole thing, right? So, if you put in there 10 little lies that really meant nothing, it might be enough to still get that warrant.
Right.
So at the end of the day, you know what we want? We don't want cops to lie about anything.
Of course not.
And I'm not saying you do. I know where.
Right. My point
this is his view.
Right.
On
my
how
point
much,
is that
he allow.
No, not that I
No,
don't
you hate lying.
cops.
You hate lying cops.
Yes,
Sorry.
I hate that we have taught them to lie. That's what I hate. I hate that we have trained them to lie about things that are not physically possible, and then we train our brains to believe these lies because we told them to say it. But we can see it when it's blatant. But when it's like a little lie, right? When it's a lie that like your kid tells and you can see right through it and you're like, all right, the reason why that lie, I must treat it the same as the big lie, because if you let your kid get away with those 10 little ones, eventually a big one's coming.
Yeah.
Right? That's why I treat them all the same, because you had the same intent, which was to lie. I can't treat
and you get called and you get called out on it.
Right, but I look like
right?
the asshole because I'm calling a cop a liar because I'm saying he cannot see in the dark 200 yards away. And yet, as a district attorney, sometimes you will be there at like asking him, "Hey, could you clearly see him?"
And
Yes, and his answer is yes. You know that's a lie. You have to know it's not possible he could see somebody in the dark 200 yards away.
I wouldn't even have put the case up. Like,
well,
that's
have.
I mean, look. I mean, I'm just saying. Like, if I know if what he's going to tell me is blatantly not credible,
right?
I'm not going to fucking put him on the stand.
But you agree, we have district attorneys who like we see these, right? Because we catch them in it, and so we know that there are DAs who do,
and judges catch them too,
right. And some judges, although they know it's happening, that's why I respect the ones who do call them out, though.
They all should,
right? But
they all should,
but they don't, and that's why I give credence to those who do, and I get upset with those who don't. Because we all have like a responsibility to one another. Like, yo, the only way our system works is if we all hold each other accountable.
Yeah.
I agree.
And it's like sometimes
we're all in agreement here.
Some of us like don't do it though.
Josh is so confused. He's like, "Damn it, I agree," and I'm getting yelled at. I don't even get it.
No, but going in the like, if you have a cop, if you put a cop up on the stand and says, I could see this guy 200 yards away in the dark, right? Mm-hmm. And the judge doesn't say, "Counsel, get up here." And like,
I mean, they
say,
said,
"Look, I'm throwing this case out."
He is
like,
specifically referencing the trial that I just did, and he was
right
there. I mean, what am I supposed to do? Turn all the lights off and then go 200 yards away to prove it? That's the problem. I can't even ask him like, "Are you sure you saw it?" Because he's gonna go, "Of course I did," and then I look like an asshole. On closing, I could be like, "You know, he can't see 200 yards in the dark," and but you say right. But I don't know if anybody fucking believes me, because they're like, the defense attorney's supposed to come in here and lie to us.
Exactly.
Of course the cop's lying. Right? What else is he going to say? That the cop's telling the truth?
Okay. I mean, we're going way out into like, now we're talking about what a jury is supposed to believe. No, Josh,
we're trying to get why do you like cops so much, man? That's where this is going, you know? Like, this is a backdoor way. This is an intervention.
This is an intervention.
We brought you and your friends here. Your family's outside. We all want to know, why do you like cops so much?
Yeah. My wife, who's a former Philadelphia defender as well.
Oh. And how did she marry? What happened?
Because she's pretty law and order, dude. I mean, she's pretty like, if you asked her, like, she thought a lot of the people that she represented should have gotten more time than what they actually
Oh, shit.
And she was a really effective lawyer too. So you
ain't got to always believe what you do to be good at it.
No, very true, very true. Yeah. I don't think every cop is dirty. I just don't.
Neither do I.
No,
I'm not an idiot.
No,
I don't think most of them are
dirty.
The
majority of them are.
I think almost all of them.
Yeah.
I think, like I said, I think a lot of them have been trained to kind of like bend the rules, right? Because we, as a society, we tend to believe that, like, look, the ends justify the means, right? Like, if we lie about some little shit and we get a big time drug dealer or murderer off the streets, most of us are like, I'm okay with that.
Well,
right?
and
that's the scary problem with the law is you can't allow that. I'm sorry, I cannot allow you guys to bend the rules to meet the ends, because then you'll bend them too far and we'll get catastrophe.
Right, but the system is designed to have checks on that.
No, listen, here's the problem.
It's designed
you've got a judge, you've got defense attorneys, you've got a jury. Like,
I understand all that, right? And look, here's why this case I think is really unique, right? Because you know that the cops. So I know for a fact that they made up one piece, right? At least in a couple of the articles I read.
Back on Breonna Taylor.
You're talking about Breonna Taylor?
Yeah. Sorry, okay. Breonna Taylor's case. This one's unique. Well, first of all, they lied about. They allegedly put in there that they spoke to like the local postmaster, right? And her apartment was allegedly receiving packages from this well-known drug dealer, right? That's where all this came from. Like, this apartment was tied to some big-time drug dealer there, right? Mm-hmm. So Here's my guess, right? And this is, I always have that same thought. Like, we do have checks, right? Like, that's why we have a job, okay? Because when they do bend the rules and shit, it's our job to call them out, right? And that's what we do for a living as defense attorneys. Say, this shit can't be true, so now we got to figure out how we show that to a jury, right? So they can see you lied. Here's the problem with this case, right? I don't think the cops, just like you said, they were like, we could put this little fucking lie in here. Because when we catch this big-ass drug dealer, no one's ever going to question it, right?
Exactly. I don't think they thought this was going to happen.
No, and then here's the problem. The problem is there was no checks and balances here, right? Because
a judge had to have approved that warrant.
But the judge would have never known
the judge
that they
doesn't
lied.
know the cops are
because
lying.
they
That's what I'm
assume
saying, right?
that when you put this shit on there and you say everything I put in here is the truth,
under
then
oath.
they assume everything they read is the truth, right?
But there's still a check. There's still a check in the system.
Yeah, but that
right?
check will
What's
fail
that-
every time
what's
if
that
somebody's
check?
lying to
That
you.
a neutral magistrate has reviewed it and found it
that
to be
is no check whatsoever.
I'm just saying,
that
whether
is
you
not-
say
it was
whether you
meant to
think
be
it
a
is or
check.
not.
Do you think
it's still in the system?
How many warrants get denied?
Very few.
How is it a check then?
Well, I mean, in what? Where?
Listen,
in Philadelphia? I mean, like
theoretically, it's a check.
Right, theoretically.
But if the person
but that's
coming
not
to
the way
you
it
is
works.
lying about everything, your check means nothing, right? And that's what happened in this case.
if there's no way for you to, if
But
there's no way for you to investigate it or
the
call it.
only way for it to be a check is you actually have to treat it with skepticism, right? Like, because the only way you're going to be unbiased is if it was like, yo, you know what? This doesn't make any sense, right? But if I trust if I trust that person because of their job, right? What was meant to be a check, I will never check it, because if I meant to check Dave's work, right? Because Dave is my friend and he says, yo, I need this warrant, I'm not actually checking. I'm just going to rubber stamp it, right? Now, if I was actually unbiased, I would actually look through it and say, hey, there's some mistakes in here. This doesn't make sense. We know that the relationship between the judges and the magistrates and the cops is anything but like neutral. Like, we know that they aren't unbiased. Many of them are friends. They know a lot of them because they see them all the time. It's not even reality that it's a check.
And
I'm
realistically,
saying it's in there. It's in the laws.
But the real
right?
check, here's the problem,
Like-
though. The real check comes from, even when they do lie, you get charged. The check comes from when, hopefully, you have a good attorney, and we can
Right.
call them on their shit.
I agree.
That's the major check, right? Now, you can see when the system fails, right? When somebody can just lie to you, it's probable cause standard, right? That judge isn't going to do anything besides read that shit. They're not going to investigate anything. If it makes sense on the face of it, they approve it. That's not a check. And then because of their lies, cops showed up and killed somebody who was completely innocent, right? Yep. So there was no check here that would have stopped anything.
And actually, just a quick aside, my county where I came up, the district attorney's office had to approve every single search warrant. So there was actually an added, like, not only did the judge have to sign off on it,
That would help. That would definitely help.
That should be every county.
and I know there was a lot of times where I would call a cop back and be like, you don't have enough here.
Yeah,
but that is much more on you than the cop, right? Like, you are the check.
Yeah,
the cop
the
is
check,
not.
which is good.
Right. That I could respect, right? But that is me putting my respect in someone that I know is going to do the job, right? Like, I trust that the cop's going to bend the rules to try and get his job met. I can even respect that. But when we send it to the judge who's just going to rubber stamp it versus a DA, right, who knows the law and can look and say, hey, what's going on here? This is missing. That's an actual check.
Right.
Right.
Not every county, not every jurisdiction has that.
No, absolutely not.
Right. And when they don't,
yeah.
when they don't have that, we don't get to say that county has checks because they don't.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, Delaware County.
That's fair enough.
That's Delaware County. You just go. I saw.
If the magistrate's job is to neutrally evaluate whether you. So you.
Right,
I mean,
right.
But that's like
Sure,
we can
right.
agree that's their
Yeah,
role.
I'll agree
that's what
on
they're
that.
supposed to do.
I'll agree
whether
that
they
they're-
do it or not.
I agree that they're supposed to review it.
That's on
and
them,
make
though,
sure the
right?
standard. They have enough to meet a standard of probable
Some
cause.
of them aren't even lawyers.
A lot of them aren't lawyers.
Most of them aren't.
A lot of them aren't lawyers.
No. Change
Which,
your
I mean,
verbiage.
how fucked up is that?
Most are not lawyers. Most.
And I agree. They all should be lawyers.
How is that even a thing? Oh God!
So a non-lawyer gives a sheet of paper
I need
to a
a minute.
non-lawyer.
Another non-lawyer.
And then the non-lawyer goes, there's definitely enough in here.
Which is
This
again,
is
which
definitely
is
a legal precedent I should be setting.
which was the reason Bucks County was like, no, we're gonna have a lawyer look at this at some point.
God,
And
So the funny
my
thing
5
is,
days of no drinking right now.
the funny thing is that's an actual check, right? Giving a search warrant to a lawyer to look it over and say, yes, you have enough. Now take it to a non-lawyer judge.
Yeah, non-lawyer.
And have them sign off on this, please. That
can at least be a check.
We can call that a check.
Right, because then I could go back to that lawyer and be like, yo, how did you ever let this go through?
Yeah, at least talking to a lawyer about it.
Right,
like how
that-
did you approve this?
That's
Right.
like that $18 million settlement.
Oh, dude, there was
talking about, bro. Like,
and that's the other thing.
That's an F.
There was a lot of accountability, right? Because
Yeah.
if I approve a warrant and
then
these
it gets
assholes
tossed or
rush
something?
and kick in the door and sees like 10 fucking kilograms of coke and it gets thrown out because
Yeah.
the warrant. Yeah, that's on me.
That's
Yeah.
on you. That's not
That was
on
made
them.
very clear to me by the superiors and like that's that's why we have this too.
Yeah.
Because
And
we're
that's why it
sick of
should be.
we're sick of shit getting thrown out on Fourth Amendment stuff because these guys didn't do the warrant
Didn't do the
properly,
warrant
and we
correctly.
lose huge seizures.
Yeah. Right.
And but you can see like the larger jurisdictions, Philadelphia,
Yeah.
Baltimore, which was clear in the show.
Yeah.
They don't have
The resources.
It's so easy for cops to get a warrant.
Right.
And because it's so easy, it gets more and more like I don't know what the word is, but like
It gets washed.
They
It
take
gets
short-
washed
they take
down.
short-
they take one and then they take another and then they take another
They
and
take
then
shortcuts.
And before
Right,
you know
right.
it, everything in the fucking warrant is
It's
a
a
lie.
shortcut.
Like,
Well, it's just
Yeah.
a shortcut.
it's
you
like
know?
Right.
this happened on Wednesday in 2020.
Well, when you
It's
think about it, if
2023.
you're
what are
like,
you
instead
talking
of me
about?
doing all of this work, right? I don't need to, right? I can just take a shortcut, right? Because the judge just approved it last time. And then you're like, you know what? I didn't do this time. Judge still approved it. And then you can ultimately figure out how little can I do to get a search warrant.
yeah, until you get something bounced at CP level.
Yeah, and then
yeah.
they change. You know,
And then they change.
We can't. Oh, we actually have to see the person we
Oh,
arrested.
wait,
okay.
this is a great time for your show. Like, he's never gonna watch it. We're gonna talk about it anyway.
Okay.
Like, nothing serious, but like it's basically the same thing, right? Like, homeboy got taught how to bend the rules a little
Yep.
bit, and then he bent them so far he started bending his own, and then other people started bending. Like, it was kind of the same thing,
But
right?
he took the role of like training other cops on how to bend the rules.
Right, he just monetized
Until
it
he
better.
yeah, and the guy was a really good like, he just had a very outgoing personality. Like people gravitated to him,
Right.
And people came like he ended up being their training officer.
But like
This
that's
is- you know what I mean?
right.
Like-
But isn't that Derek Chauvin? Wasn't he a training officer?
Yeah.
Wasn't he training people on?
That's
how
what I was
to
gonna
do things?
say.
Like
This-
this is it. What blows my mind is that like there's nothing but like movies and the best movies about cops are always about them being dirty.
No shit.
The
When's
best
the last movie you
television
saw? We were like,
shows
damn, they were
about
good
cops
cops.
are always about them being dirty. Why on God's green earth? And then we see them. We see a lot of them
Yep.
doing the things that we put on television and movies and pretend that like, hey, this is make believe. No, this is real life too. The same way. Why do the cops always get the benefit of the doubt? How is it possible when all we show
I don't think they
people
do.
is like,
Where? I mean, where? What's the conviction right now in Baltimore City? Benefit of the doubt from who?
I don't even understand you sometimes.
Benefit of the doubt. Give me
Just
give me the
because-
scenario.
just
Give me the
because
scenario.
They don't get a conviction doesn't mean society doesn't see them and give them the benefit of the doubt.
You don't think
When
cops
you
are
see
believed
them-
more just
right,
because they're cops?
Right. We put it on our jury
In some area-
questionnaires.
yeah.
In some areas, you mean
Do we
always?
ask that about any other profession on
No,
our jury
that we
questionnaire?
don't. No, that I agree
right.
with.
Do you know why? Because people tend to believe cops. There's a very few select minorities. The minorities
Right.
and poor people
and defense attorneys.
and defense attorneys.
Right.
Right. Everybody else, usually they get warm and fuzzy feelings when they think about the cops. Minorities know better.
Okay. I agree with you.
Right?
I agree with you.
Poor people, because they live with minorities, they know better. But everybody else who the cops don't harass, yeah, they're like, oh, I have a hangnail. Let's call the cops. No,
Right.
you could be shot at. If you're black, sometimes calling the cops could be more dangerous for you.
Right. But you can't say everybody gives cops the benefit of the doubt because they don't.
That's my.
They don't.
No, I don't say
That's a
everybody.
gross generalization.
I,
That's not-
I
yeah.
literally just
Majority
told you,
of
like,
people.
a
No,
groups
that
of
was your
people.
first statement, and then I came back
like
at you
groups
and
of
you
people.
flipped. What?
No. My thing is that majority of
Majority of
people,
people
give them
believe
the benefit
cops.
of the doubt, but everything we make about them says you shouldn't. Why do they still? But when we do that about anything else, right? Like if we give subliminal hits and we say black people are bad, we say, this is what sexy is. This is what beauty looks like. We accept what we see and what we get bombarded with. But when it comes to cops, we bombard you with the fact that they lie, they cheat, they steal, they kill. and yet they still get the benefit of the doubt. They are literally the only thing that I've ever seen us say the opposite, show the opposite consistently, and yet we believe like something that we didn't see. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, it's a cultural. I think it's a cultural thing.
But
right?
it's
Isn't
your culture.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean I take responsibility for
Don't
it.
point at me. We don't have the same culture.
I don't take.
Just be European culture.
That's the thing.
Point at me.
You lump me in with every other white person in the country. Every time we have these arguments, you lump me in with every other white person in the country.
I lump you in with the same way it happens to me, right? Because I belong to a group. You can look at me and see I don't look like you, which is why it bugs me when people say I don't see race. Unless you're blind, yes, you do. That's not what you're.
I'm
right.
Not,
So like,
I'm not saying I see.
Josh, you are definitely stereotypical white
no,
person.
that's not fair.
No,
That's not fair. I would say that. I would say that.
That's the most ridiculous thing you've said today, which is saying something.
That is saying something. That is because there's a lot that already got cut.
Right.
I'm allowed to joke around with Josh about being a stereotypical white person because he is.
Okay. Well, if I am, then you are.
Well, no shit.
Okay.
And here I am in the middle, just trying to figure it out, guys. So, anyway, back to the cops.
I thought that, again, going back to that show, I thought that show did a phenomenal job of showing how difficult a time the Baltimore City prosecutor's office has in getting any cases through that courthouse because they can't get people on their jury that believe a word the cops say.
Right.
They can't. They literally cannot pick they can't pick 12. I think the exact line from the show was when he was talking to one of the cops, he's like, I can't put 12 people in that box that believe you. I can't do it.
But
because so many people in this city don't believe anything that the police police say at all.
But that is for a reason, right? They're not just the people in the city aren't giving the cops a bad name, right? They're just looking at what they see. The cops are dirty in that city, right? So they're actually telling the truth. Hey, why should we believe? Like, we see the cops rob our people. They robbed me before. Many of them have lied on me before. There is no way you are going. There's a reason why in jury pools, I will always pick a black person first.
Of course.
Right? Because I know.
Of course.
Out of the I'm just playing mathematical numbers. There's a better chance that as a minority, you have had a negative experience with the cop. And there's nothing like a personal negative experience to pull out hate. Right. And
you're going to award money in a personal injury case. You're going to award a lot more money.
Oh, of course, because
that's why I'm putting you on my jury first too. Guess what? You're on my jury.
We hate when people get taken advantage of because it's like that shit happened to me.
Right. Welcome. Come on down. Take the first seat. In fact, I nominate you to be the jury foreperson.
Yeah, that dude. When
Mr. Black Man.
When we also had the guy that was arrested and they dropped the charges on. You remember for the Delaware County trial?
Which one? You can't say the name.
Yeah, the drug trial.
Our last one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, you remember the kid where he was like, yeah, I got charged with DUI and drugs. And she was like, well, what happened? He was like, it was withdrawn. And I was like, I put a giant check mark. Like, I want him on the jury. And I was like, and then I put an X over my check mark because I was like, it'll be the first person cut. And then by the time we were done, she did not cut him. And that was the guy that when they said not guilty, he stood up and he pointed.
I remember you telling me this.
And I was just like, yes! Like, how do you not take him off the jury? Why do you think the charges were withdrawn?
We should have given him a job here.
Like, he said the magic words withdrawn.
If we gave him a T-shirt, he would wear a fucking T-shirt.
And, no, absolutely. And the judge was like, after that experience, do you have any negative feelings? And do you think this is? He's like, oh yeah, no, this is good. And I was like,
you lying motherfucker.
I was like, wait, can we take a minute to kind of talk about this bull for a minute? Like, number one, I was like a proud dad watching him do this trial, like verbatim. He from start till closing, like I knew every word that was coming out of his mouth, right? But he did a very good job.
Good memory.
Good, man. That's
good.
He
did a very good job, and then
because you're gonna lose more than you win,
right?
Right.
I'm kind of
pissed
knows.
That
his first one was a W. I'm like,
I want you to know that
bastard.
I am 1-0.
Yep.
Right?
Then you need to retire right now.
I'm like Floyd Mayweather.
Retire right now.
You ain't gonna be Floyd for long, dog.
Yeah.
Not if you stay on this side.
I am Floyd Mayweather.
You will catch
with
some
this record.
L's.
As I always do,
quick
I
L's.
remember listening to you guys tell the story about the trial, and the first thing I think about is what the prosecutor was doing.
Oh yeah. I don't know.
And like made some I mean, I remember from what you told me, the prosecutor did some fucked up shit on this one, right?
Well, the cop
like-
lied on the stand though.
Right,
And-
but like but there was some shit like she went out in the hallway and talked to him or something you said, and he came.
Oh no, this was just no.
Only-
This was like the biggest event of the trial because she was about to ask a question on redirect that could have only come from hearsay, right? Now, me in my infancy and also being just anxious out of my fucking mind because my first jury trial, he's like punching me in the face. He's like, object. You object. Like, I'm surprised the judge didn't hear him screaming objection.
I'm sure the judge did.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, dude, shut up. I don't even know what he's going to say. He's like, that's the point. He shouldn't be allowed to say it. And I'm like, whatever. And then he lied. Like, he testified to something that he didn't know, right? Or that he was literally just told by the DA out in the hall, which we found out because
That's
jumped.
what you remember telling me.
Yeah,
that-
because he jumped up and he's like, I gotta, like, hold on. And then he just starts asking the cop questions, like, right in the middle of the trial, dude. Right? And then that's when the judge called us up and he's like, listen, she's like, listen, one of you.
Don't do that
Like, both
again.
of you. And-
Yeah,
And
don't do
he's
that
like,
again.
Judge.
It wasn't both of us though. It's like, I feel like see, as usual, I'm getting a bad rap.
No.
The dude lied, and what scared me was because I had trained him to handle everything, right?
Except for him lying.
Except for like, here's what you do when someone just makes some shit up. Here's how to destroy them quick, fast, and in a
I never
hurry.
expected it. It was too simple.
You don't expect it.
For
You don't
him to
expect
just
it.
lie.
But no, he should have expected it because her question was like, "Did you learn something from a report?" Right? His answer was like, "Yes."
Okay.
So he's already learned something, right? The question is designed that he learned something from reading a report. Her next question is getting ready to ask what's on that report, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't have asked the first one. Now he's talking about hearsay because this report, I know where it came from, right? It came from another officer who had been called to the scene, who then he talked to, who then he went on the computer. Now he's getting ready to testify to hearsay. I've just jumped the steps. I know where she's going. So I'm telling Dave,
Yeah,
like,
no, I get
yo,
you.
yo, he's about to say some hearsay.
Yeah.
So when he says it, I can see Dave's face and he's like, we kind of didn't go over this. Like, I don't really know. So then
I was
he
like-
gets down, and that was on redirect. So it was quick, right? There wasn't even time for me to pull him over and be like, here's what you do. And they were like, no more questions. She looks over, Dave's still kind of in like the deer in headlights look.
Right.
And so she's like, cross-examine. I just went in.
Yeah,
So
he
I
just
just
jumped
started
up.
going in. And by the time she had stopped me, I had already made him look dumb.
Okay.
So then it was like, she was like, well, don't do that. I was like, no, he's got the rest. I just needed to fix this part. Because
Yeah,
that kind of had him
then the
rattled.
met-
And
like
I
the
went
Well,
met-
you know what the good thing about that was too is that made the jury notice.
Oh yeah.
When he jumped up and went right in to talk, like the jury was like, "Wait a minute, I gotta listen to this."
Right.
Yeah, it's
Because
true.
it's been you the whole time.
Yep.
And then he jumps in just for that part.
Well, no, and
Like-
but he only asked 3 questions too. He
No, but it
like-
was great. But it's we were talking about it on the last episode, like subliminal
Perception for the jury.
The perception for the jury.
Everything.
It's
Everything.
everything.
It's
It's everything.
And I mean,
And the little things that people don't think about, like something like that,
Yeah.
that is huge.
no, this whole trial was little things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the other cop got up there and he was lying about his inventory, right? And I asked him and he lied, right? Even when I asked him again,
Do
right?
you have the inventory sheet?
I showed it to him after he lied, right? I was like, and where does it say the gun is?
Oh, I remember this now.
Yeah, and he,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then he reads it off the inventory.
It's
Yeah.
like the bag is the closet,
The
right?
bag, yeah. The
That's
gun,
why when I got up,
the gun
I
in the bag
just-
in the closet.
on
yeah,
closing, I just hammered. I was like, words actually mean things.
that's right. It just said gun, right, or something like
Well,
that.
no,
on
it
the-
said gun in closet, but he was
Right.
like, it was found in
a
his backpack.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Right?
Yeah.
Except on the inventory, you actually had a fucking backpack listed.
Right. And you didn't put it was in the backpack or the inventory.
No,
'cause
you put it was in the closet.
Right. And now you want us
And,
to
like,
believe that in
he-
the closet also means in the backpack. No, sir. In the closet means in the closet.
Yeah.
And the
And,
backpack
like,
means in the backpack.
This is what I mean. These little lies. And guess
That almost
what?
could have. I mean, you guys probably could have gotten that tossed pre-trial. Honestly,
No, we tried.
the
Denied.
reference, any reference to the gun?
Denied.
Oh,
Oh.
no. To be fair, that did not come in.
You know what I mean? Because you could have gotten him.
But he wasn't called for that.
You didn't put. They didn't
was
call
not-
him to identify where they found the gun.
No, because he wasn't. No.
He wasn't the cop who found the gun.
Yes, he was.
Yes, he was.
He was the cop who found the gun, but he was not the cop who testified to it at the motion. Another cop did.
Yeah.
Another cop.
Say what
another cop at the
judge allowed.
motion
Yes.
testified to what another cop saw and did.
Objection.
That's fucked. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, these are the checks y'all get, dog. What do you don't?
I mean,
It scares me when he gets shocked at like
Well, this
judges
whole
and
I mean,
and,
this
like,
whole case too. The best part about talking about search warrants, this whole case never mentioned our client's name once.
Not
in the search
once.
I remember that too.
right?
Yeah.
And
All those
it
checks.
mentioned it mentioned the defendant's
I mean,
name. It mentioned the
you know,
I'm just poking at you right
No, I get it, but I just.
But this
that
was
wasn't
that-
the system that I came up through. Just was not. I mean,
that was like
again, it's.
But that
You know what it comes down to too is yeah. Well, I don't want to get into the whole political discussion, but yeah.
no. Well,
to be fair, I will say that one thing. Kind of my friends who were PDs going over to the DA. One thing that did teach me is that like, you know what though, man. Like, even though I do say it's rare, it's good, and the ones that I can actually call my friends on the DA side are the ones who I believe try and do the right thing. We don't always have to see eye to eye.
No,
Like,
you're
look,
never
I'm a
gonna-
defense attorney. I get
Right.
I'm biased too, and I get that on the DA side they have real live victims that they get attached to as well, and I totally respect that. My problem are those who fly blindly, like to
Yeah.
their own power.
We used to
Like
call them
that.
the Kool-Aid drinkers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, I need you to like first of all understand this person didn't snatch your purse, like, and then I need you to understand that like giving him life for this is stupid. But the people who respect their power, and I see it, and they're like, yo, here's what I think is fair. Here's what we're gonna do. They don't try and play any games. I know there are cops like that. I know there's people like that in every profession. But because of what I do, I never give the person the benefit of the doubt. You have to show me you're like that first. And then I give you the respect that you deserve because you showed me. Like, and there are cops who I'm like, in Philly, if they say something, they write it down. And I've gone to my clients and be like, dog, no, the cops on, dog. Come on, it's this officer. I've given him
lying.
many times to lie. Believe me, he knows what's going to happen. If he lies to me in court, I'm going to try and embarrass him. Like, this is somebody I can put a rubber stamp on. Like, if they said you threw the gun, like, I'm going to kind of lean over there, or you're going to have to explain to me why this person who I know usually tells the truth is lying about you specifically.
Right.
But I can't go in with that because 9 times out of 10, they're kind of right. Like, the cops are probably not telling the truth. So I'm like, I'm not going to give them the benefit of the doubt until I've heard other cases that aren't mine. And then I can not sit in with my own bias and be like, okay, that story makes sense, because I think we all kind of have listened to what we know the boilerplated answers are.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just again the fundamental disagreement that we just are going to have is I'm going to, unless it's a cop I know and I've bad experiences with in the past, and then you're on the list. You're never coming off. But like, I'm always going to, if I'm meeting a cop for the first time, like at a prelim or something like that, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm not going to just assume everything you've got in your affidavit is a lie. You know what I mean?
I think for
and
your
that's
job,
the difference
you kinda
between
have
you and
to.
I. Yeah, but
I
like,
think you kind of
right.
have to.
I
for
always
your
start
job.
at, I think everything you're saying is a lie, and then I try to prove to myself it's not, because
Right.
once I'm convinced, then
but it's just two ways of looking at the same thing, really.
It is.
You
It
know what I
is.
mean?
it is.
Like, so anyway.
I find it interesting though to see other people who like get
Josh-
there but differently. You're right.
The moral
We're
of this
kind the same
episode is,
shit.
Josh
Loves all
cops.
every cop. Dirty, clean.
He told me the other day that
Everybody, bro.
He's probably gonna
Everybody,
do
bro.
the police academy because he wants to be a cop part time.
Yeah, dude.
All right, guys, that was another episode.
I think we did pretty good that time.
Yeah, not too bad. About
Yeah.
5 minutes.
You guys
Josh
hate
loves
cops.
cops.
I love cops.
You know?
That's really the moral of the story. There can be no middle ground ever. Right?
See, I totally
It's-
agree, and that's a
it's-
good way to sign off. The fact that you work
Everything
here
in
is a great middle
excess.
ground.
Everything in excess.
We agree
The
on
fact-
nothing.
Exactly. The
Right?
fact that you work here is a great balance, because we always distrust them, and when we bring it to you, you're always like, "Wait, guys,
Yeah, you're
did
being
this
idiots.
happen?" I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
You always
Remember-
pull us off the deep end, though.
This is why
Right.
you need a team that you trust. That's the
Exactly.
moral of the story.
Right, because you guys would just run wild if I wasn't there to fucking check
Oh, absolutely.
shit,
guys.
right?
Tune
Only
in next time.
Yeah, only a Sith deals in absolutes. Star Wars.
Fight, 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 fighting for justice. Fight, 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 fighting for justice. Fight, whoa, we keep on fighting. for fighting. Problem with the law, you know who to call.